everyone, and thank you for once again turning into the St. Lucie County Public School Speakers Bureau. If this is your first time, I'll give you a little background on what we're all about. My name is Dr. Donna Mills, and I'm one of the St. Lucie County School Board members, 1 out of 5, and have been doing this program for quite some time. And we are about inspiration, motivating, and encouraging our children, our parents of those children, and our community, entire community. We want to encourage you through the stories of others. And so once a month we have a different speaker that comes on, and that speaker will be aired over and over again for that month, and their story will be told. And so today we have a very special speaker with us today. He is a resident of St. Lucie County, and that's what we do. We bring our own people on this program so that they're not too far from you. They live right in your community, in your county. Today we have Wendell Phillip Russell Jr., and he is a retired attorney. He is a retired corporate counselor and former counsel and administrative law judge for the New York State Industrial Board of Appeals. And he has come to our wonderful county to retire and spend, hopefully, the rest of his days here. But he has a rich background of history and knowledge, and so that is why we've asked him to come on and share with us. Attorney, can I call you Attorney Russell?
Sure, or Wendell, either way.
Thank you so much for coming, Attorney Russell.
My
we do
pleasure.
appreciate you spending time with us out of your busy schedule. Can you share more about what you've done as a profession? Now I know that you're retired, so what were you doing, and for how long, and how did you decide to get into that particular field?
I spent the bulk of my career as a corporate attorney, working for major corporations. Immediately after law school, I was at a large Wall Street law firm, and after several years there, I went into the in-house legal practice area, working within the general counsel's office of a major petrochemical company in New York City. And that became the start of my career, and I went on from there to work for a number of other industrial corporations.
Well, I know you mentioned to me while we were just talking at a different time, different day, but you did mention to me of how you started out with wanting to be a history major, and how did you change that major from history to law? What happened during that time?
I had a bad experience my first semester in college.
Okay.
I had always been an excellent history student, and I was attending Oberlin College in Ohio, in my hometown. I had gone back there after growing up primarily in New York City. And the first history course I took, unfortunately, I had one of the worst professors in the department, and it was a very negative experience. So that I didn't wish to have much contact with that department going forward. I didn't feel I would be supported. So I switched my interest into the field of sociology and anthropology, where there were a number of professors in that department that had a good track record of supporting and mentoring and advancing, their students.
I think that's very important for us to know as individuals, that sometimes we have those bad experiences in dealing with others, and how important it is that we don't allow them to stop us. Maybe it's even to help us change paths, of what we might have thought that we were going to do. So that's why I asked you to share that experience with us, because you went on to become a great attorney and had many years and successful years doing that. And I know you're talking about how it was back in those days that you were in college. But even now today, we may have some students out there that feel like, they were not, something was said to them that discouraged them. And we want them to know that, I remember a few things that was very discouraging that was said to me as well. And that didn't stop me from being who I knew I was on the inside. And I think people need to hear that. Our students need to hear, but everybody needs to hear that. That what others say does not have to stop you from the success in life that you have. Talk to us a little bit about growing up. And you're going back, I know, but, tell us about your family.
Well, I'm going back a long way. I was born in 1949.
Okay.
So I'm a post-war baby boomer. I grew up in the 1950s and early 60s. So I was starting college in 1967, attending a predominantly white college, liberal arts college, at a time when many of those schools were opening their access to students of color more than they had ever previously allowed. And so when I started my college, there were few mentors of color at the school. There were only 2 black professors in the entire institution and hardly any black administrators. So the classic example of if you don't see people that look like you in positions, it can sometimes be very challenging. And the type of support that many black students historically got at the HBCUs, where they were assumed to have the potential to succeed. Often at the predominantly white institutions that were opening up at that era, there was not that attitude amongst certain faculty members. There was a negative perception. And so many students that came in were sidetracked, but ultimately got back on track over time, depending on their interests. In our school in particular, there were a number of black students that wanted to go into the medical field that had problems with the science departments at that time. But they were determined to become doctors, and after graduating college, they took the necessary coursework and ended up pursuing, in several instances I can think of, extremely distinguished careers in medicine.
So what you're telling me is no one can really stop you from moving forward in life. You can find a way,
right,
somehow and when we go back into history, my hero is Harriet Tubman. There's all kind of heroes that were out at that time who, despite what they had to deal with, was able to still excel and achieve in their era. And so I think it's important for you to talk to us about the era at that time and what you did. How did you deal with your worst times? I know you had to go through some.
Well, we were pushing at our school. Oberlin had historically had black students, but in small numbers. It had been the first college in America to have a non-discriminatory admissions policy going back to 1834. And it was the first co-ed college in America. So it was a progressive and liberal environment compared to most peer institutions. But still, despite graduating black students for over 100-some years, at that point in time, there were only 2 black professors at the school. And they were recent hires. So it wasn't like there was any history there. So we were engaged as a large cohort of black students, the largest cohort that they had had up to that point in time of black students on campus, began to push for changes within the curriculum, within the administrative support structure, to better support the success of black students on campus. And so it was part of the Black student revolution movement that was going across campuses all across America. And we were a part of that. And we made those fundamental changes so that we established an African American History Department. We established more Black administrative support. We established a cultural and a residential center on campus. And we did all those things to make the environment more supportive to be able to produce successful, graduates.
What was life like for you as a child? What, you were born into your family? What was your family like, your parents?
I was very blessed in my family life. I'm an only child, and I'm a child that was deeply longed for and loved. Unconditional love from both of my parents, my father and my mother. My father was very much a unconditional love person. My mother was much more a harsher taskmaster. My mother had high
Good
standards.
balance there, good
yes,
balance.
She didn't just allow you to rest on your laurels. If you brought home an A, she would say, that's good, and keep it up. I expect an A the next time also. She was that type of person. And she also was a person that made you understand that you needed to be respectful of others and not make an assumption that because you have an education or you're pursuing an education that somehow you are better than other people. You shouldn't make assumptions about people based upon their position in life. They were deep. My mother was a deeply Christian woman. I grew up in a deeply Christian home. My foundation was strongly Christian through church and Sunday school, and strong mentorship from my pastors. So that's the foundation, the rock upon which I was built.
Who or what are you most thankful for?
I'd say my parents. Because that's key in any individual's development. If you don't have a good parental support, it's very challenging.
Yes, sir.
To succeed. But I had that. I wanted for nothing as a child. Absolutely nothing. My parents provided for me. And
what type of work did your parents do?
My parents were not highly educated people.
Back in those days, it was very few.
Right. My father and mother had grown up in the era of domestic service. So my father had been a chauffeur for very rich people, and my mother had worked as a cook and housekeeper in the households of very rich people, and they met in Westchester County, New York, back in the late 30s. And so that was their background. And when we moved back to New York in 1957, they ended up going back into those arenas because my father, who had been trained as a carpenter when we lived in Ohio, could not pursue that profession in New York because of the discrimination in the unions. So he couldn't be a carpenter, so he went back to being a chauffeur. And my mother worked as a daily domestic worker.
So back then, and this is February, it's Black History Month. Back then, during that time, Black people could not reach the potential of who they really were because of racism and discrimination and the way we came over here as our ancestors, as a people, and enduring the slavery and the harsh conditions that we had to endure. But they made a way.
Right, our family.
So that we can have what we have today. And I think it's important for us to know that especially our young people, what people went through to make that way here in America, in this country, for the rest of everyone else. Talk to us about that.
Both sides of my family, paternal and maternal, the lines were deeply committed to education. On my father's side, his father's sisters were educated, and one went south and taught at the historic HBCUs in the late 19th century. My mother's family believed in education. They were from Lawrenceville, Virginia, where there was a St. Paul's College, a black college. She had relatives that graduated from there. Other relatives that were sent north to Westchester, they went through school, through high school and beyond.
Why do you think so many people were into education back then? I have my own ideas, but what do you say? Why were so many African Americans interested in making sure that their children understood the importance of an education?
Well, within families, there was a protective aspect for women. You wanted your daughters to be educated, to provide them access to professions that were, or situations that were going to be safer than being a domestic worker or other things where you may be more prone to being abused by the larger society. For the sons, there was more of an orientation of practical education, giving them access to skilled trades, because quite frankly, there were very few opportunities for black men in the professions, and even women. I had an aunt who graduated from New Rochelle High School in the 30s. She didn't have access to opportunities commensurate with her graduation from that level of high school. So she ended up still becoming a domestic worker. So, as you say, people had to make a way out of no way. They had to pursue and carry on during harsh times. But families had a sense that if you could educate your daughters in particular, they could be in safer positions
And that
than
goes
being in a household as a domestic servant, where you may be prone to be victimized by the men in that household.
And that still applies today.
Right.
You know, it's the same thing today where the education is so important. And a lot of times when we think of education, we think of college. But as your carpenter, as your dad wanted to be, it's educating oneself in something, becoming really good in an area, a field of area, a choice of career, whatever it is. If it's a mechanic, I say learn as much as you can in that area, or whatever it might be. Learn as much as you can in that area of your chosen field. It doesn't have to be a college education, but it does need to be education. And so, to make a way for yourself.
Back in the day, say in the railroad, Pullman porters, red caps in the rail stations, most of those men were college educated men, PhDs, lawyers.
And could not go in their field.
Pursue in their fields. It was very difficult in the professions as a black man in the 30s, in the 20s.
And yet they still went that way.
They went that way, and when they couldn't go in that direction, they had to make a living, support their families, and those jobs were highly respected and regarded within the black community because there was a degree of independence, and financially it paid much better than many other opportunities
Sounds
available.
like today as well. So is there a teacher that you remember that made the most impact on your life, and if so, why?
There were many teachers, but one, and when I was in college, when I had that setback in history, my advisor was a young history professor who had grown up in that department. And he knew that there wasn't an easy way to challenge the professor that sort of had done me in unfairly.
Which was something back in the day.
And so he was still supportive and encouraging me, and he had graduated from Oberlin as well. So he was someone that said, you know, despite this, you can succeed here. And I picked myself up from that semester's defeat and went on to develop a leadership role within the college that gave me access to some key people that helped open doors to my graduate school and other, you know, significant opportunities.
And how did you yourself push through your worst times?
I had always been determined. I had gone through a large public high school in New York, 3,400 students, so that I knew as a black male, if I wasn't focused and determined, it would be very easy to fall by the wayside. So I had
determination was the key.
I had ambition, I had drive, I knew I was going to succeed, I knew I was going to go to college, I knew I was going to go to a good college and not just settle for the lowest particular option that the institution may be asking you to settle for. So I pursued the opportunities that were opening up at that time, and I was able to gain access to them.
When did you consider yourself a success?
I think I've always considered myself a success. As an individual, I was watching something recently, an Eddie Murphy documentary that's just come out, and he said that he always valued himself highly. And that allowed him to avoid falling into the pitfalls that many young artists fall into when they have that access to fame and wealth and money and, you know, negative things of, you know, wine, women, and song, basically. So he avoided that. He didn't do drugs. He didn't drink. He didn't smoke. And that's why he has survived to this day, where many of his peers are dead because they fell into those traps. So a sense of strong self-worth, I think, is very important. You need to value your body as a temple that God gave you. You need to protect it, nurture it.
I like that part, protect it and nurture it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you need to develop the rest that God gave you, your mind, and take advantage of gaining skills and exposing yourself to all of the wonderful things in this creation in terms of art, science, nature, the travel opportunities. I took advantage of everything I could, and some of those opportunities were just life-changing. I had an opportunity to go to Europe when I was in college by going on our school's French program. I wasn't a great French student, but I wanted to go to Europe.
Right.
So I said, they have this program, I'm going to try to get into that. And I went on that program, and that was a life-changing experience to be a young black man in Europe in about 1968.
So valuing yourself and who you are, and see yourself as somebody worth making sure you take care of.
And not allow people to define you negatively. Many times, of course, in this society, black students, black males in particular, have been devalued, and negative assumptions have been made about their capabilities.
And if they believe that, what others are saying, it's already...
It's self-fulfilling.
Yes.
You spiral
you can't
down
do that.
into that.
Right, you can't do that, yes. So, do you believe in second chances?
Yes. As a lawyer, I have always been concerned about society's tendency to impose very harsh penalties on people that make mistakes under the law. And that, you know, they want to put people in jail forever, say, for drug offenses, minor drug offenses, and then try to punish them for the rest of their lives as a result. I believe that's unfair.
It is.
It's highly punitive and unnecessary. And it imposes higher costs on society as a whole than are really warranted. So I certainly believe in second chances. I believe in the inherent goodness in people. And I think most things where people go wrong or bad, it's been the result of environmental and social factors in their development.
Totally agree with that. What book or quote even maybe someone have said to you in the past that helped to change your life?
I read so many books that I couldn't point to one particular book. I don't have sort of like a Invictus type of quote. I believe in the power of reading, if anything. I believe in the power of reading broadly. And if you do that, it will open your mind and your heart to, you know, to many things, and will allow you to travel to places that you never thought about before.
Really, even if you don't even get there.
You're
books,
traveling through
your mind. Yeah.
being exposed to that experience.
Yes, yes. Last question, and only because we're running out of time, as usual, it goes so quickly. But what is the one characteristic you believe that every leader should possess?
I think you need you have to be able to listen. When you're in a leadership position, you have to be able to take the time to really understand the history and background and dynamic in that organization before you come in like a bull in the china shop with your own, you know, ideas. I think you need to have an agenda that you're thinking about, but you need to go around and talk to the people within the organization that you are going to be leading and get their insight, give them the opportunity to be exposed to you on a one-on-one basis. And from there, then be prepared to pursue the goals that you're going to set forth for the organization or the unit.
Attorney Russell, thank you for your wisdom and your insight and your story and helping us to be a little more educated today through your time of coming here for St. Lucie County Public Schools. We appreciate it. I wish I had more time to ask you a zillion more questions, but we are out of time. So we thank you for your attendance here today and for your input. Your knowledge is just incredible, and we thank you for sharing it with us.
It's been a pleasure, and you were right. The time flew by.
Yeah. Thank you so much again for coming, and thank each and every one of you for listening to the Speakers Bureau today. I hope it was something that Attorney Russell said to you today that you can grab onto, and it can help propel you in life. You take care now. And one thing he said was respect yourself and treat that body right. Take care. Bye-bye.